Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is, we welcome our guest, Steve Eagle. He's going to present Pirate Elegy. This is exciting. So Steve is a partner of Sterling, Seacrest, and Pritchard and is the largest independent insurance brokerage in the Southeast. Right out of ECU, I won't say when, but
they'll find out.
Yeah, you'll find out. Steve began his career in insurance. He quickly moved up the ladders, and then was it 92?
90 Palmer and K. Oh,
it's okay. He and it was 6 others. You all left on the same day,
right.
And you started your own firm, and
right.
you grew it. So I think this is an exciting story to hear and to share. So everyone, let's welcome Steve.
Well, thank you, Paige, and good morning, everyone. Like Paige said, my name is Steve Eagle, and I'm just glad you came back. I mean, you evacuated, so so glad to see all these faces in the room. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm truly humbled to be here because, you see, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a president or CEO. I was an average student, maybe not so average student, from a simple background, maybe like some of you in the room. As Paige mentioned, I've been in the insurance business now 43 years. It's hard to believe. So as you know, the purpose of ECU, School of Business, is to build leaders who inspire, innovate, create, and positively impact society. I'm here to tell you that leaders come in many different forms, from many different backgrounds, and impact society in many different ways. And while many of you may aspire to be a president or CEO, and that's great, you don't have to be one to be a leader or to be a success in life. You know, I can still remember my first day walking across the campus with a map, figuring out where are my classes, and the excitement that I had. And you know what? I still get that same feeling today, some 43 years later. Here in this place is where the now me can meet with the then me. And in my mind's eye, at 66 years old, not that much time has passed. And I still get that same sense of excitement when I walk these grounds. More importantly, that same sense of belonging here. And I don't think you would be here today unless you had a sense of belonging here in this place that we call ECU. So this is the now me up here. Let's talk a bit about the then me at ECU. You know, like Matt mentioned today, I was a first-generation student. I came in on probation. I attended South Mecklenburg in Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, while in high school, I truly believed in time management. And, you know, for that reason, I did my homework on the bus on the way to school. I was the kid who woke up, head off the pillow, going, oh no, science fair project due today? I was no scholar, but ECU saw potential. So I happen to have my transcript with me today. Pages are kind of yellow. They're stamped and everything, and you couldn't make these grades up if you wanted to. As I mentioned, I started at East Carolina on probation. And for that reason, I took 2 quarters. Yeah, it was a quarter system when I was here for 1 year. 2 quarters of remedial reading. Remedial reading. Yep, I guess they thought, based upon my SAT scores, I couldn't read. But I showed them I made B's in remedial reading. So my grades sure didn't get me into ECU, but I think they saw potential in my work ethic, kind of like Dean Harris mentioned. I think they saw grit. So because I worked from the time I was 13 at Myers Park Country Club and Old Providence Racket Club in Charlotte. I liked making money, and I still do. I had a strong work ethic, just not a study ethic. So after my first year at ECU, having learned how to read, in remedial reading, I said, well, yeah, I guess it's time to declare a major. I had no idea what I wanted to go into, but I knew I liked dogs. So I decided I was going to be a veterinarian. As a biology major, read my transcripts again, I posted 4 Ds and an F among a host of Cs. I don't know if any of you have had this dream, but walking into a classroom and being handed a test that you knew nothing about, that you didn't study for, that was a true life experience for me in trig. So I got an F in trig, followed by a D the next semester, and I decided I don't want to be a veterinarian. Well, we all come from somewhere, and I suspect some in the room maybe can relate where I came from. My parents were divorced when I was 3. I lived with my grandmother until I was 6, loved her dearly. Latchkey child of a single mother. My family moved around 5 times. By the time I was 10, 3 of them in a mobile home. During our stay in Lumberton, North Carolina, we lived in a trailer, but not just a trailer. We lived in a trailer behind the mobile home sales lot. My stepdad was a mobile home salesman at the time. And across the field, there by the mobile home sales lot, there were these kids. They were tenant farmers, and they were just great to play with. I'd trek across the field. They had no running water. They had a simple pump for water. And for fun, I'd help them with their chores. One of them was helping them plow the field with a mule. So let me tell you, being on the south end of a mule will give you perspective on life. You never know what's going to get dumped on you, but you just step over it and you keep plowing ahead. I started college here at ECU when I was 17. Summer of my freshman year, my father passed away. He died in the Rowan County Jail of alcohol detox. It was written on his death certificate. He was an alcoholic, and I loved him dearly. He was just sick, and I simply didn't know how to help him. It was that fall after his death that I didn't do so well in biology. So I'm sharing a bit about my life today with you, and I don't share it with that many people. I'm sharing it with you because you never know where you may find yourself. Sometimes you have to make function out of dysfunction. So after my biology stint, I went into business economics, which was part of the School of Business at the time. A 2.0 was required to get in. I took some crit courses this semester before. One class I took was skiing. I'm not talking water skiing, I'm talking snow skiing. There's no snow in Greenville. But I made an A in ski, and I still snow ski. We had a great time at Snowshoe, West Virginia. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, a 2.0 was required to get in. I barely got in. The requirement changed to a 2.5 the next semester. So I was very lucky to get in. And I graduated with just a little less than 2.5. In my first business course that summer, I got an F in financial accounting. That was the summer of 1979. And I was a mess. I'll admit to you that I was partying too much. This is when I found myself in the back seat of a cop car. Certainly nothing that I am proud of. I shouldn't have been behind the wheel. I'd hit a parked car, left the scene of the accident, and fortunately, God bless, no one was hurt. And I'm sure this would not have happened today, but I figure the officer saw some good in me. He just wrote me up for exceeding an unsafe speed. He dropped me off. I kid you not, he dropped me off at a railroad crossing just as the sun was coming up. And he said, "I think you can find your way home." So I stuck my thumb out there at the crossroads, and I kid you not, I was picked up in a matter of minutes by this wonderful African-American family with kids on the way to church. Now, if that's not God's grace, I do not know what is. I was literally and figuratively at a crossroads. I had to get my act together. I made the decision then and there to move away from some bad influences. As I mentioned, I got an F in financial accounting. That was my first business course. It was summer school. But went on to get a B in the same accounting course. And after that, I finished my career at East Carolina with honor roll or better until I graduated in 1981. Turns out I wasn't so good at accounting, but I found my lane in statistics. And everybody can find their lane. Just keep at it. But isn't that what East Carolina is all about? Meeting you where you are, growing your potential, making you better than you ever thought you could be. And I found my way at East Carolina. You know, Dean Harris this morning called it transformational. It was transformational here for me. So I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. I did have fun at East Carolina, okay? And I worked my way through school here at the attic. Now, y'all probably don't know anything about the attic. I think Paige does. Yeah. So the attic and the whole downtown scene was happening. Carter and I, we were here for the scholarship ceremony just a couple weeks ago, the business scholarship ceremony, and we went downtown, and I saw on this marquee, "Make Downtown Great Again." I tell you what, in the 70s and early 80s, it was a whole lot of fun, and I'm sure you can still have fun down there now, but it was just a great place to be. It had a capacity of 800, and we had some great bands, none of which you would probably know about now, but they were some rock and rollers. It was Molly Hatchet, there was Blackfoot, there was the Pointer Sisters, George Thorogood played there, so, I mean, it was really a fun place to be. And this was my fraternity. So this is the crew at the attic. I'm up in the top left-hand corner there, the guy with that shag haircut, sort of. And that Terry Kingery, the striped shirt there, I keep up with him. And that's Les Strayhorn in the center there. He was a big football player for Georgia back in the day. And, you know, as you can surmise, I was no valedictorian, right? I mean, you've heard my grades, but I think I got the first and only employee of the year at the attic. So I put that on my resume. I graduated with a degree in economics in the fall of '81. So now what? You know, we didn't have job fairs then. I mean, this leadership thing that you've got going on, I mean, it's awesome, and I'm so proud to be here. But we didn't have this sort of thing, and so, you know, I go back home to Charlotte, I'm looking in what ads. Because it was not like scouts were looking for me or anything. I mean, I didn't have a 2.5 average. But I got a call from Jim Horton. Now, Mr. Horton was the regional president of Prudential that I'd gotten to know through working at Myers Park Country Club. You never know where you're going to meet people, but he was a very nice man. He liked me, and he turned out to be a key contact in my career. Mr. Horton, Prudential Insurance, he wanted to hire me. He really did. But I flunked the psychological exam. Now, I've been in the insurance business 43 years, but I flunked the Prudential psychological exam. So he referred me to the Pilot Life regional guy. Pilot Life, you've probably never heard of them either. Back in the day, they were a big ACC sponsor. They're now Lincoln Financial. And their regional guy referred me to the employee benefits division of Pilot Life. So I get my interview with Pilot Life. Now, believe it or not, on the way, and this is the Pilot Life Sedgefield office. So on the way to Pilot Life for my interview, and you can imagine how nervous I was, I have a flat tire. I have to go to a payphone booth and call and say, Mr. Allred got a flat tire. Anyhow, I went and had the interview the next day. He hired me, and I accepted the offer before I even knew what they were going to pay me. It was $14,500 and a company car. The company car was big. So insurance sales was my first job offer. Been in the business since. And over the course of 11 years with Jefferson Pilot from 81 to 82, I was in sales in Gastonia, North Carolina, Orange County, California, Atlanta, Baltimore, and Jacksonville. I served as regional manager of Baltimore and Jacksonville. That's me in the center there. That's the 1984 annual report. It's kind of a fluke that I'm on that cover there in the middle. I got a lot more hair. But I was at Sedgefield, that picture you just saw, attending a Series 6 and 63 course class. In this business, I went on to earn my CLU, my CHSC, my CEBS, and the CPCU. These are all pretty strong designations. So I was there for that, and they gathered us up and they took that pick. I still have 250 copies of this if anybody wants one. So it was during my time in Jacksonville that I worked with a strong regional broker. Now, as a carrier rep, you work through brokers, and the brokers, sell your business. So I was working with Palmer & Kay. This was a great privately held firm based in Savannah, Georgia. It had roots dating back to 1868, and we did a lot of business with them. You never know how opportunity is going to present itself. My opportunity of Palmer & Kay came about as a result of an affair. The broker that I was working with ran off with a group rep, not me, but ran off with a group rep, and that's how I got my opportunity at Palmer & Kay, because of an affair. So Palmer & Kay hired me. I transitioned from a carrier rep into a benefit broker in 1982. So that's me in the forefront there. The guy just behind me, he was another founder of our firm when we left. That's David Pattison. He's now president of Sterling Seacrest Pritchard, a very good friend of mine. And when I started at Palmer & Kay, they had approximately 250 employees. As I mentioned, great privately held firm. But they also offered the means to purchase stock based upon your success in the organization, which I took advantage of. But over the course of a 10-year period, this 135-year-old firm grew from 3 to 21 offices and over 1,000 employees. Unfortunately, the firm simply went from measured growth to unbridled mismanagement when new leadership was introduced in 2003. And it only took this new regime less than 23 months to destroy a company that existed over a century. You can read all about it in this book, Scuttled, The Sinking of the Palmer & Kay. Kind of a business story. So Palmer & Kay sold to Wachovia because they had to. This is when we began Seacrest, March 6, 2006. Have no ill will against Wachovia. Banks are great. We just wanted to be privately held. And so we walked out on the same day, March 3rd, and started our firm, Seacrest Partners. There we are, a bit younger there, but that's the 7 of us. The reason we were able to start it is we had stock in Palmer & Kay, so when they sold to Wachovia, we had just enough dry powder to capitalize the firm. that and second mortgage. I was able to make a $200,000 investment. So this $200,000 investment has gone 40 times and then some. But what it has allowed me to do is to give back to you guys. This place means a lot to me. I've set up an endowment for first-generation students like me and maybe some others in this room. So, you know, here we are smiling and don't know why, because we had no revenue, we had no clients, all we had was each other. And we're still together 19 years later. And as I mentioned, we simply wanted to be privately held. But I got to tell you, walking in that Monday morning, I mean, we went from a big office into a bullpen. I mean, no clients, no revenue, no nothing. All we had was phones, laptops, and fold-up chairs. And we started a company. The day that, and you know, big surprise, we got sued by Wachovia. You know, they claimed non-compete violations and that sort of thing. But we went on. We went on from there. But the day we got served was the day that I was going to be getting in front of about 500 people to kick off the United Way campaign. I was the Wizard of Oz. The theme was centered around wisdom, heart, wisdom, and courage. And God knows we needed all three. You know, I hear a lot about building your brand today as an individual. In my day, as a baby boomer, it was called making a name for yourself. And I can't think of a better way to make a name for yourself than to get involved in your community. Community engagement is just good for the soul, and it creates value in so many ways. I've had the privilege of serving as chair for a number of different boards in Savannah. So our firm, Seacrest, has had 2 mergers since 2006. In 2017, we merged with Sterling Risk Advisors, and then with Pritchard and Jordan in 2021. It was a pure, no cash exchanged hands. It was a pure stock kind of transaction. So, you know, the equity that I had in my stock just increased. Today, we're known as Sterling Seacrest Pritchard. As Seacrest, we had an 11-year run where we grew from 7 to 60 employees and about 20 million in revenue. Today, as Sterling Seacrest Pritchard, we employ over 350 associates with revenues exceeding 117 million. We are ranked 50th in the country among all insurance brokers and 15th amongst privately held firms. We are the largest privately held firm in Georgia and the Southeast. This is our current office that we've been in since 2010. We own the office. We lease the one next to it, and then we have one just around the corner. We simply outgrew this building. Next year, this is going to be our building on the same footprint. It's going to take up 2 more lots in the same space that faces Forsyth Park, which is a pretty cool part of Savannah. It's the biggest green space downtown. So, needless to say, we've come quite a ways since, you know, being in a bullpen to be housed in a building like this. Now, there are 3 other firms that be housed here, but you know, we're pretty excited about it. I still have an equity stake in the business based upon my ownership of the prior property. So here's a more up-to-date pic of the founding partners. You know, our time with Palmer and Kay and then Seacrest, we've been together 32 years. We're all very different, but I think that's what has made us strong. And so here I am with my family. It's my wife Carter in the middle. She's a pirate. And, you know, like I said, I'm just a regular guy like most of you. And I got to show my grands. That's little Charlie and Micah. They're going to be pirates for Halloween this year. Charlie was named after my father, by the way. So, yes, I've had my share of failures, but I'm here to tell you that failure is still is very much part of success. And it takes a lot of at-bats to be successful. You just got to keep getting after it. And, you know, most of what we worry about never happens anyway. So be kind to yourself. East Carolina at an important stage in my life, maybe better than I thought I could be. I found my way here. And so, you know, I mentioned I worked at the Attic. I still have a rock and roll heart. So I'll close with a lyric from Cat Stevens. You may not know who he is. He was a pretty good 70s rock and roller. "A life is like a maze of doors, and they open from the side you're on. You just keep on pushing hard, boy. Try as you may, you're going to wind up where you started from. You're going to wind up where you started from." In so many ways, East Carolina is where I started from. So it is my hope that, like me, that one day you'll come back to this place years from now, where the now you will touch the then you. Here's to your journey in between. God bless you all. Go Pirates.
Go Pirates. Do we want to do some questions?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have any questions, you know, about my career, my experience, or the insurance business for that matter. I know it was a long-winded journey I shared with you. I hope it resonated with some of you.
I know there's got to be some questions. Let's not be shy. Yes, hey Garrett.
After that experience of hitting the crossroads after your freshman year and going through that kind of emotional experience, who did you try to surround yourself with to kind of lift you up at the time?
Good question. I mean, I was, you know, I just sought out some good people. I guess this is the best answer to the question. I moved into a group house off Rotary. 4 other guys. Terry Kingery was one of them. He actually is the guy that invited me into the group house. And, you know, it was just a much better environment. That's truly where I found my way. That's where I started spending time at the library, studying, and just, you know, you find yourself in a point of your life where you go, this ain't working. I've got to change. Now what am I going to do? And, you know, that's what I did. Any other questions about, you know, the business aspect? You know, 7 of us walking out the door of a perfectly great aircraft was pretty intimidating. I don't know that we would have done it had we known what it was going to be like initially. We went through about 9 months of struggle in getting through that lawsuit, but everything worked out for us.
So yeah, I think, could you talk about that in the context of risk?
Yeah.
And them putting themselves out there, right? Because we're all pirates and we may not have grown up in a household where risk was acceptable at any level.
Right.
Right? Like you go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to lean on where your lane is. I mean, for us, we felt like that we had built our brand. Okay. You know, I was the practice leader there. So I guess what I want to say is lean into those things that you know that you are strong at. And we felt like we were strong in the community. We felt like we were strong with the carriers that we worked with. We had a great reputation. While we didn't have any clients, you know, getting out of the ground, we knew that we had carriers that trust how we went about doing our business based upon honesty and trust. And I guess that would be the other thing is, you know, those values, you know, knowing your values when you're getting to embark upon something like that. Any other questions? Sorry.
Can you speak on, so when you got 7 of y'all broke off and kind of started from the ground up again, Can you speak about some of like the hiccups maybe y'all faced? I'm sure there's probably something or like some value you saw come out in the group that maybe you didn't see previously or things y'all had to deal with.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think, yeah, you know, we just leaned on each other. I can't, you know, I will say that we did benefit from the downturn in 08 simply from the standpoint that Wachovia was part of that. Yeah. You know, you never know what's going to go on. In terms of the personalities of the group up there on the wall, I think we all knew each other fairly well and how we would react in that sort of environment. We were pretty tough. So to answer your question, there wasn't many surprises because we knew each other so well. We'd worked together for so long at first at Palmer & Kay. And we knew we had a strong team, and that also gave us confidence to, you know, walk out the door and start our own business.
How can you talk about? I'm a very big advocate if you've only been in Eastern North Carolina about exposure.
Okay, yeah.
So somehow you ended up in Savannah, and Savannah's beautiful. Talk to us a little bit about that transition and what advice you might have for them.
Yeah, so I think all that moving around as a child, I benefited from that when I started with Pilot Life. I mean, they had me, I was in Gastonia, I was in Orange County, California, Atlanta, Baltimore, and Jacksonville. And it is kind of exciting to land yourself in a place where you know nobody, you know. And by the way, we didn't have GPS then. Just friggin' getting around was a challenge. So to answer your question, Paige, I mean, I just kind of went where the opportunity knocked, and found my way. You know, the transition from Jacksonville to Savannah was an exciting one. Savannah's just a wonderful place to live. I can remember stepping foot on Johnson Square, which is a key square within Savannah. It's composed of squares, a lot of squares, and this is the financial square. And big oaks, Spanish moss, and I can remember saying to myself when I was calling on Palmer & Kay, man, if I could live here, this is where I want to be. And I think God's been on my shoulder. I found myself in Savannah, Georgia, and I think it was the right place for me. And I guess if you can find that place in life where you feel good, Savannah's been that, much like East Carolina was. It was a place where it was just the right size, where the community comes together, the business and community comes together as one, and you kind of feeds off, one another. So that's a long-winded answer to a short question, but I think just finding that place where you feel like you belong, where you find comfort, and stake your claim there.
Can you talk about your firm's business model and like how a brokerage works?
So yeah, the 7 folks that we had on the wall there, an insurance brokerage or an insurance agency. Our firm is what you would call a full service brokerage. We have property and casualty, bricks and mortar. We have benefits. I was the loan benefits guy in that team, which is corporate benefits that you get when you become an employee. And then we have personal lines, which is auto home. From a model standpoint, you have producers, and they eat what they kill. And then you have a support team for each one of those. Our leadership, in terms of our leadership model with Sterling, Seacrest, Pritchard, we don't carry a whole lot of weight with titles. We do have a CEO and president and COO, but the president and CEO, they both produce just like I do as a partner and owner in the firm. The model is fairly simple, much like in a physician practice. Physicians are producers, the sales folks are the producers, and you have a team that supports them with, compliance, actuarial, human resource. I'm talking about benefits. So, insurance is a very good field, by the way, for those of you who might be thinking about it. I mean, there's, so what we did, there's not that many fields out there. It's not like an attorney group where you're paid by the hour. Our business model, if you will, based, from a client standpoint, we're earning a commission or we're earning a retainer, a fee. And I'm making money standing here in front of you because it's like a warm blanket. That revenue's coming in every day, and so long as you're delivering the service to your clients, by the way. And that is something that is also transactional in the way of stock. So our stock is, have ownership in the firm. Our stock is valued every year, and there's a price that's put on that stock. And, by God's grace, it's gone up every year. Well, Paige.
Are there any other questions?
One last thing, could you talk a little bit about, we talked about the attic, is there some other places, food or bar-wise, that are no longer in town?
Yes. So, that's a great question. That's the best question. No, I'm kidding. So the attic was, it was the largest. At the time, there was the Jolly Roger. Is Pantana Bob's still around? Okay, there was Pantana Bob's. Before it was Pantana Bob's, it was the library. There was Grog's. There was the Rathskeller. Those are the main ones that come to mind. There was the Opry House that was out of ways. It was actually another music venue, but it was more kind of country. This was back when they had the Mechanical Bull, so it had that. But downtown was a scene. I don't know. I've gone down there on a Friday and Saturday night, and not as many people around as it was when back in my day. That's the other thing I was thinking. So we evacuated right here, and I mentioned that last time I had an evacuation like that was when I was at the attic and somebody had thrown a tear bomb.
Oh.
So anyway.
So are you saying that your generation's the one who gave us that particle status? No, are we thanking you for that?
Yeah. So yeah, I think it was Playboy. Not that I ever looked at that magazine, but this was back in the day. And this is true. It had a ranking of party schools, and it had a footnote: East Carolina, you can't rank professionals with amateurs. But that has nothing to do with the value of what y'all are getting here at East Carolina. Everything you're doing here, I just hope you reach out and latch onto it, because it is transformational. It is where I found my lane, and it's impacted me in so many different ways. I met my wife here, Carter. We just celebrated our 38th wedding anniversary. And I have such a place in my heart for East Carolina. Paige knows that I don't make it here as often as I would like, but every time I come back, I truly feel like I'm coming home. And I will continue to invest in you guys. So thank you.
Steve, thank you. Thank you, guys.